You guys are clearly the overachievers. It's 2:30 on the last day of the conference, and you're still with us and here. And so since it's such a small group, I'm going to actually get off stage and kind of hang out with you guys instead, if that's okay. Before we get started, if I can get a sense of who's in the room. This conference attracts so many different folks and so many different roles, and then if I can get a sense of what you're hoping to get out of this talk and this conversation. CIOs, school leaders? Okay, school leaders, investors, other nonprofits, okay, Edtech products, okay. Oh, great, okay. So what are some of the other products that are in the room? Okay, and the nonprofit? Okay, great. Well, welcome. Well, my name is Thuan Nguyen. I'm an executive vice president with AVID, and my colleague here, Michelle Mullen, who's another executive vice president, and we're here to just kind of talk to you a little bit about Edtech and Edtech PD and a little bit about AVID and our current journey. And so we're planning on just spending about 15 minutes talking about the program and where we're headed, and then really opening it up to Q&A. And we really want to make sure, obviously, we're meeting your needs and addressing the questions and some of the expectations you have going into the room. So a little bit about us. We're currently a global nonprofit serving all of the Department of Ed. Oh, great. That's okay. And we're currently training about 70,000 educators on an annual basis, about 40,000 over the summer, and the remaining 30,000 throughout the school year itself. We're currently in a little more than 6,000 schools, actually almost approaching 7,000 schools at this point. The majority of our PD is currently face-to-face. We've been around for 38 years, so we know a little bit about PD and how to successfully deliver professional development to schools. And we deliver the majority of that PD, again, face-to-face in 12 institutes, starting in the middle of June and ending at the beginning of August. And we're now beginning to do larger PD offerings regionally for the rest of throughout the year, and that's where we're capturing the other 30,000. And to give you a sense of what these conferences look like, they're anywhere between 2,500 and 6,500 attendees in one space. So a lot of educators, a lot of teachers, all in one place, being able to share best practices with one another. But we'll let our kids tell you what we do.
People like me.
People like me.
People like me don't go to college.
Nobody's ever gonna convince me that I'm gonna be somebody someday.
Street cred, it's more valuable to me than my education.
My life will be defined by those who doubt me.
I know there are some out there looking up to me.
I'll let those AP and honors students be future leaders and policymakers.
Because me, I'm just one out of a long line of statistics.
Who knows, maybe I'll even study.
But it won't affect how my life is going to turn out.
People tell me I can't succeed because they can't see past my skin color or how I talk.
They say I don't care enough to be a first-generation college student.
I am the last person in my family that's going to be successful.
I'm aware of the skills and talents I possess.
This is my destiny.
That was me before AVID helped me see my potential, believe in myself, and turn all of that around. And now?
This is my destiny.
I am aware of the skills and talents I possess to be successful.
I am the last person in my family that's ever going to be a first-generation college student.
I don't care enough, they say, because they can't see past my skin color, how I talk.
People tell me I can't succeed, but it won't affect how my life is going to turn out.
Who knows? Maybe I'll even study statistics.
Because me, I'm just one out of a long line of future leaders and policymakers.
I'll let those AP and honor students be looking up to me.
I know there are some out there, those who doubt me.
My life will be defined by my education.
It's more valuable to me than street cred.
I'm gonna be somebody someday.
Nobody's ever gonna convince me that people like me don't go to college.
So that's what we've done the last 38 years, and I've seen that video so many times, and I still get chills every single time. And what we're beginning to see and recognize is that the school landscape is obviously changing. They have access to more devices and more technology, and what we're finding is that our educators are struggling with how to best leverage and use that technology in the classroom. And so at AVID, the last 12 months, we set out to try to change that. So it's so great that we got to follow Project Tomorrow. It's somebody that we work closely with and leverage their data in terms of just the growth in terms of devices that schools are currently purchasing and making available, and the software packages, and the concerns among administrators around just the number of devices showing up, but educators not feeling like they're being prepared and know what to do with those devices and how to best leverage them with their kids. And so some of this data actually comes from Project Tomorrow. Again, administrators, teachers wanting and expecting and needing more PD for the stuff that they're buying, and not really sure how to fully leverage the tools that they currently have access to. So our approach to the solution, or the problem, and our solution is really that we're not in the business of creating more tools and more software packages for schools. We're here to see what we can do to assist with filtering through all of those devices and filtering through all the options and offerings so that we can get to the primary purpose of what the purpose of schooling is all about, is educating our kids. And a few years ago, you know, one of the big aha moments for a lot of schools was that attendance data, and looking at attendance data and realizing that if we look at the data and tried to get more kids to show up for school, kids do better. Well, one of the things we're seeing with so many options in terms of devices and software packages out there is that teachers and administrators are experimenting with these software packages. And as a result, they're losing instructional time even though the kids are sitting in the classroom. So we set out to kind of resolve and solve that issue for them by serving as that screen for the various tools and options that are out there. So one of our core premises that technology can be leveraged for individualized instruction and learning. And so as part of the PD offering that we offer for digital teaching and learning is a series and a collection of different tools that they can use to collect information back quickly in terms of where their students are currently at today. Something as simple as using a clicker or a Poll-it or a Poll Anywhere, just to get a sense of where they are so that they can leverage that information and personalize that learning experience for that student, and use that data in a way that's more actionable and more immediate, rather than taking a tremendous amount of time analyzing and working through that. The other is technology's promise for increased collaboration and finding more opportunities for our kids to collaborate with one another, as well as educators to collaborate with one another. So again, what we did was we collected a number of different tools, because again, we're kind of system and device agnostic from that standpoint, and letting educators screen through them and experience them as part of the PD experience that we've provided, and then give feedback to one another. So we're kind of crowdsourcing out of our 6,800 schools and 70,000 educators to get a sense of what they're using, what's working. We screened through that, and then we deliver that back to those users and those educators. And so as we look at the technology that's available in the classrooms today, we're looking at creating new opportunities with them as well, in terms of being able to remote in tutors, remote in professionals, leveraging with something as simple as a single device laptop with Google Hangout or Skype to provide that experience, especially in rural schools or schools that are just far enough away from a college campus and they can't get someone into that space. And it's a very, very simple use case. So as we look to the future, what we're trying to do and trying to resolve are these makerspace movements and makerspaces that are being created and then quickly abandoned when that one teacher walks away, right? We want to make sure that these educators are prepared on how to best leverage this space, and that everyone in the school is behind that effort and know how to truly embed these skills and strategies into their instructional practices. As we look forward to the future and we get through this first phase of digital teaching and learning, we're exploring some STEM opportunities. We already have a STEM offering at the middle school level. We're looking to expand, and Michelle's leading up an effort to expand that STEM offering down to the elementary level, so that we're creating more opportunities so that by the time they get to the middle school, the options are actually available to them and they've not removed that from a potential for them. So another quick video on our efforts around this space.
AVID is excited to announce a new training for summer institutes in 2018, Digital Teaching and Learning. The trend is clear. More schools are buying more technology and making it available to more of their students and staff. But surveys show that a large portion of educators are hungry for tools and strategies to help them effectively teach with technology. The answer? AVID's Digital Teaching and Learning. AVID brought together educators from around the country from a variety of disciplines with a variety of technology backgrounds to help design a new professional development experience that allows teachers to explore, learn, and apply digital tools in innovative and meaningful ways. The goal? Preparing students with the digital literacy skills they need to be college and career ready. Digital Teaching and Learning is truly a collaboration between AVID and educator practitioners. Using the design and development process, we developed prototypes and gathered several rounds of feedback from educators. Then, these prototypes were tested with educators throughout the country, first in San Diego, then in the Northwest, and finally at AVID's National Conference in Orlando. The response from educators has been fantastic.
This all applies to me, which means my engagement's high, which means I'm going to be able to get that to my students.
I learned so much today. This is so worth it. My mind is racing with all the new ideas, apps, engines, tools, and options that I've learned about. I'm revived and renewed with excitement.
We've talked about how students can use their own voice and choice and ways to empower students to be able to make decisions about which digital tools to use and how to use them. And that's the real power of what I'm going to take back to my classroom next week.
This was an excellent training opportunity, the best AVID strand that I've attended to date.
Now we're ready to take it to the next level. AVID's 12 Summer Institutes deliver world-class professional development to over 40,000 educators nationwide. And beginning this summer, Digital Teaching and Learning will be offered at all summer institutes across the country. Join in and earn your AVID Digital Teaching and Learning badge. And this is just the beginning. Looking forward, Digital Teaching and Learning will expand into more trainings, online resources, and just-in-time digital experiences. To join the movement and keep up on all things digital teaching and learning, check out avid.org and follow us on Twitter for the latest updates.
So at this point, all of our strands this summer for digital teaching and learning are already sold out, and we already have in the work the next 4 versions of the strands that will be available the next year. So anybody that's interested in being a part of that conversation or a part of that work, please reach out to Michelle or I. Are there any questions we can answer for you at this point?
How many people signed up for the summer? I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, so we're currently offering 2 strands at each Summer Institute, and so it's about 1,000 total at this point. Yeah, and it's really our, what's holding us back is that we want to make sure that it's delivered well. Most of our other strands, there are no caps, so we'll just continue to expand and scale. One of the challenges that we're working through is making sure that we have really good trainers available, and so scaling up that program, as well as making sure that the facilities are ready. Because we host these trainings inside convention centers and hotels, and their connectivity and wireless connectivity is just not as robust as a school environment, because you're not expecting 30 or 60 devices in a room of this size and working for the next 3 days. So we're working through some of the operational pieces to make that more successful as we scale and expand. So, other questions? Well, I appreciate you all hanging out.
I just want to ask a question, actually. I saw some nodding heads, and I'm just wondering what's resonating, that the heads were nodding. I'm looking at you in particular because you're in front of me, my line of sight. And so I'm just wondering what some of the things are that are resonating for you in this work, because we are excited about moving into this space where there seems to be a little bit of a void in terms of helping your everyday educator in a classroom feel really empowered for seamless instruction using good tech tools. So what are the things that are resonating?
What's going through my head is I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
I have a product that we want to bring into schools we're developing, that's almost ready. teachers and they could use it? Or does this mean it has to be all done already with research behind it before you would show it?
So I would say it would depend on the product. I would say in terms of what we're doing here in this strand is we're mostly curating existing apps that are out there that schools tend to be using, but are probably not using them well, or are not using them in ways that are seamless, or they're using them to keep children busy instead of actually engaged authentically. And so how do you change what that bar looks like? So that's where we're focused here. It doesn't mean, however, especially Thuan mentioned our STEM work, when we look at what we are trying to build out around that, we are looking at folks who are building other products that might work in that space, that we might help build around, right? Because we don't need to build everything in-house with what we do. So it really just sort of depends on what it is that you're working on. So if you have a thought about that, maybe you want to stick around and let us know.
And we do have access to a tremendous amount of practitioners, and at the end of the day, what we want is the very best product for our schools, and part of that is being engaged and part of the development process, right? Or having an organization that actually understands that that's what needs to happen in order to have a successful product. So I think it's something we're always willing to entertain and whatever feedback we can provide. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Pacific combined.
So it's nice to know that you're kind of working through that end of it. I wonder what data you're collecting from an outcome perspective. So not just how many people are you training, but is that changing learning for students?
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we do quite a bit at AVID, and Michelle can really talk about this, is that on an annual basis, we collect a tremendous amount of information back from the schools that we serve in terms of student enrollment, class rosters, and schedules, and things like that to make sure that the kids that are enrolled in our their AP courses are representative of the makeup of the school itself. One of the reasons for the issuing of the digital badges is to see what our educators do after the training itself, and then we're looking at additional surveys that we'll be sending out to schools and students afterwards. That was one of the neat things about putting together this strand, was the ability to bring educators together to build a curriculum for other teachers, right, and practitioners that are in the classroom today to build it, and then we hire practitioners that are in the classroom today to deliver the professional development to the new educators, and so to make sure that those needs are being met and then following up. And Michelle could probably talk a lot more about any strand that we do in terms of how we obtain that feedback and track so that we can continue to develop and keep that going.
Yeah, so we have whole systems of look-fors and follow-ups that occur after training. So our professional learning is not an event. It's a set of experiences that are measured over time, because the goal is targeted student impact. And so we are one of the few systems that a school or a district would put into place that actually has a certification component to it. So every year they collect data, they report data, they do self-assessment, and they receive coaching so that they're operating at the highest level in terms of teacher efficacy, teacher impact, student impact, based on the professional learning that they're opting in for. We really talk about ourselves as how is the school leveraging AVID to meet which goals, and how does the certification process that we go through help illuminate for them whether or not the lever's working, right? And then for us, whether or not we're getting to the student impact we want, which is students persisting in courses of rigor, persisting in post-secondary options that will give them the most choice, right, in their life as they go forward. So we follow all of our AVID students through the National Student Clearinghouse. We're their biggest consumer at National Student Clearinghouse, so that we can track all of those students as they go through, and how long does it take them to graduate, have a degree, do they stay in, where do they stay in, what does that look like? So those are examples of the ways in which we're holding ourselves and our educators very accountable to what you do with professional learning. Just go and experience a fun event. Yeah, we also do have fun, which is really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else that you're thinking about?
Yeah.
I just think that is really valuable that you're providing the space for that to happen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Our model is really about experiential. It's experiential design. So when you think about what the best classrooms look like, right? It's the same. You're building out experience and it's immersive. So you're immersed in the experience and then you step back and you process the experience and you understand what your learning is and you know what you're going to do going forward with that learning, right? So if we want to build that for students, for our young people, we better be building it with the adults and they better know what it feels like because there's tension there, right? When you suddenly feel like you're out of your league and you need scaffolding to be successful, right? So as our adults remember what that looks like, it's easier for them to go back and do it with the kids. So thanks for highlighting that. That's a principle for us.
And I appreciate you saying that because one of the activities we have in the digital teaching and learning strand is actually an exercise that requires the teachers in the room to struggle through something. And the struggling is part of that experience and getting confidence that may happen in the classroom, and it's okay to kind of work through it, especially when it comes to technology and there's just so many variables and so many moving pieces along with it. It was funny because we were just here a week and a half ago training around 600 of our staff developers, so our trainers that will go out this summer and do that training. And several of them wanted to cheat and do the experience the night before so that they could just glide right through during the day. And it's like, no, you're supposed to struggle through it. That's how it's supposed to work. So, yeah. All righty.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock on Wednesday, on the last day.
Yeah, and please reach out if it's something you want to collaborate with us on or partner with us in some way. So, thank you.